The scent of blood and pine was the first thing Aria noticed as she ran. Not her blood, someone else's. The forest was too quiet, like it was holding its breath. And she should have listened to that silence, because that was the night she collided with him. Kale Draven, Alpha of the Midnight Crown Pack. Feared. Unseen. Untouchable. Aria didn't know his name then. Only the way his eyes glowed gold through the dark and how his presence stopped the night itself. She had been searching for rare frostroot to treat a fever back in her village when the rogue wolves attacked. 2 of them, moving like shadows. Shed fought, gods she had fought, but their claws were sharper and she was too human, or so she believed. 1 blow had knocked her into the river. The water carried her miles away, depositing her at the foot of a forest she did not recognize. That was where she smelled the blood. And him. She remembered the snarl. The shift of bone and sinew. The sound of wolves dying under the weight of something far stronger. Then silence. Now she sat before a fire, wrapped in a heavy fur cloak, aware of his gaze on her. He stood like a statue carved from moonlight in winter, broad shoulders, dark hair, jaw shadowed with rough stubble. His voice was low, gravel brushed with velvet. You crossed into Midnight Crown territory. Aria lifted her chin. I didn't cross anything. I was thrown. His eyes narrowed, assessing her, not as prey. As something else. And for a split second she felt it, like a whisper brushing the back of her mind. A warmth. A pull. A sensation that didn't belong to her. He felt it too. His jaw tightened. He stepped closer. The air changed, thick, electric. Her pulse jumped. Kale reached out, intending to take her wrist and inspect the bruises the rogues left. But the moment his skin touched hers, oh. Heat. Lightning. Every nerve alive. Her breath stuttered. His did too. He let go like he'd been burned. Impossible, he muttered. Aria looked away, heart racing. Whatever that was. It scared her. And thrilled her. He turned toward the trees. You'll stay here until I decide otherwise. The rogues are moving strangely. Someone is hunting healers. If they followed you once, they may again. Why would anyone hunt healers? She asked. He didn't answer. But she saw something flicker behind his eyes, pain. And secrets. Somewhere deep inside, that whisper pulsed again. As if someone or something had just recognized her. Welcome back to the channel, my loves. If you are new here, join our story family, subscribe, like, and share so you never miss a chapter. Let's go deeper. Stay with me. Tomorrow, her life would no longer be hers alone. And neither would his heart. Aria woke before dawn, though she wasn't sure Shed slept at all. The small cabin Kale had placed her in was warm, but her thoughts were restless. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt that moment again. The touch of his hand, the shock of heat, the pull she didn't understand. She stepped outside, breath fogging in the cold. The forest stretched endless and silver under the rising moon. Quiet. Too quiet. You shouldn't be out alone. His voice came from behind her, steady, unhurried, like he already knew where Shed be. Aria didn't turn. You watch everyone this closely, or am I special? A pause. Special is. One word for it. She faced him. Kale stood with arms folded, bare forearms marked with faint scars that looked like stories no one had earned the right to hear. His eyes didn't wander her body, they pinned her soul. You felt it, Aria said softly. It wasn't a question. His jaw flexed once. I don't feel things I don't want to feel. Then why do you look like it scared you? For a heartbeat, something broke in his expression. Vulnerability, there and gone. The mate bond is rare, he said. Rarer still when uninvited. Aria swallowed. And you think that's what this is? Kale moved closer, his presence a force that pressed the world smaller around them. Close enough that she felt his warmth, but not touching. Never touching. Not after what happened the first time. I don't think, he murmured. I know. The words landed inside her like a bell being struck. Deep. Final. Resonant. Her heart picked up, loud enough she wondered if he heard it. He probably did. But you're fighting it, she whispered. His voice roughened. Because bonds complicate things. Bonds demand. And I have no room for weakness. Aria stepped closer, just a breath. I am not a weakness. And there, quick as lightning, something answered inside her. A pulse. Not her heartbeat. Not his. A shared beat. A flicker of thought that wasn't hers drifted across her mind, just an emotion, raw and unshielded. Hunger. His. He turned away so abruptly the cold rushed back. Before either of them spoke again, a horn sounded from somewhere deep in the woods. Kale's entire posture changed, sharp and dangerous, instinct lifting to the surface. Rogues, he said. She saw his wolf flash in his eyes, a predator assessing threat, territory, protection. You stay inside, he ordered. Aria stepped forward. I'm a healer. If someone is hurt. This is not your fight. But she was already moving. And he knew he could stop her only by touching her. He didn't. They ran. Through trees. Through moonlight. The bond simmered between them, warm and alive, unspoken, unwanted, undeniable. When they reached the clearing, 3 of Kale's wolves were down, bleeding. The rogues had vanished like smoke. Aria fell to her knees beside the wounded, hands steady even while her pulse raced. Kale watched her work, watched her courage, her gentleness, her fire. The bond pulsed again, stronger this time. Not a whisper. A promise. Aria's hands moved with instinct, pressing cloth against a wolf's wound as she whispered calming breaths. The wolf's fur was dark silver, his eyes glassy with pain. She didn't hesitate, she had seen death before, and she refused to let it claim him. Hold on, she murmured. Kale crouched beside her, silent but watchful. His presence felt like a storm held by will alone. You shouldn't have followed, he said quietly. Aria didn't look up. If I didn't, he'd be dead. Kale didn't argue. He simply held pressure against the wound when she guided his hand. Their fingers brushed, light, unintentional. Heat surged. Not lightning this time, but something slower. Warmer. Like embers turning into flame. Aria inhaled sharply. Kale's eyes met hers. And for that moment they weren't alpha and outsider. Just 2 souls standing at the same edge. The bond whispered again, not words, just a pulse beneath the skin. When the bleeding slowed, Aria tore herbs from her satchel. Crushed leaves, bitter and sharp-scented. The forest air filled with the smell. Kale finally spoke. Where did you learn that remedy? My mother. Her voice softened. She said the forest always gives what we need if we know how to ask. Something unreadable flickered across his face. Your mother was wise. She was hunted, Aria said, the words slipping out before she could swallow them. Like someone wanted every healer gone. Kale's gaze sharpened. When? 3 winters ago. Silence settled, heavy, shared. You think the same enemy hunts now, Kale said. Aria nodded. His jaw tightened. Then this is more than rogue attacks. He rose, shoulders weighed by invisible battle lines. Alpha decisions. Alpha consequences. Aria stood too, brushing dirt from her knees. The cold air wrapped around them, but the space between them remained warm, alive. Kale stepped closer, slowly this time, as if he feared what might happen if he moved too fast. His voice lowered, rough and unguarded. That bond we feel. It will grow. It will expose parts of me I've buried. Things I don't want seen. Things that could break you. Aria held his gaze. Let me decide what I can handle. His breath caught, not dramatic, not loud. Just a shift. A surrender he didn't want to give but couldn't stop. He reached out, hesitant, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. The touch was barely there. But it poured through her, warmth, awareness, a pull straight to her core. Her breath trembled. His hand lingered too long. The air thickened. Then, a sharp howl cut through the trees. A warning. Kale's expression hardened. Duty calling. Walls rising. He stepped back. Well, return to the cabin. You stay there. And this time you listen. Aria swallowed the ache forming in her chest. And if I don't? His eyes heated, not angry. Something else. Something possessive and terrified. Then, he said quietly, I'll have to stop you. And we both know I don't trust myself to touch you again. The bond pulsed, strong enough to steal her breath. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Because the bond whispered for both of them. This is only the beginning. The cabin felt smaller that night, though nothing inside had changed. The fire crackled softly, shadows flickering along the walls. Aria sat on the edge of the bed, fingers tangled in her lap, trying to quiet her racing thoughts. The bond. It's real. No matter how much she tried to ignore it, her body remembered his hand brushing her cheek. That warmth still lingered like an invisible mark. A soft knock broke the silence. She already knew it was him. Cale stepped inside without waiting for permission, as if some unspoken rule between them had already formed. His hair was damp from the night air, his clothes smelling faintly of cedar and steel. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at her, really looked, like he was checking she was still here. You're trembling, he murmured. Aria blinked. She was. I'm not afraid. I didn't say you were. He crossed the room, slow and deliberate, stopping just close enough for her to feel the heat radiating from him. Earlier, she said, voice soft, you said the bond exposes what you've buried. What is it you're so afraid I'll see? Cale's jaw flexed. For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, need, he said quietly. I don't allow myself to need anyone. The words felt like a confession he'd never spoken aloud. Aria's breath hitched. You think needing someone makes you weak? His eyes met hers, hungry and haunted. In my world, it does. Their bond stirred, no whisper this time, just pure sensation. A warmth threading from his chest to hers. Slow. Intimate. He reached out again, but this time he didn't fight it. His fingers lifted her chin gently, his touch careful, as if she were something breakable. But she wasn't. Aria leaned forward, closing the space he left open. Their foreheads touched. Not a kiss. Not yet. Something more vulnerable than a kiss. Their breaths mingled. Their hearts synced. She felt him, not just his presence, but him, the ache, the restraint, the hunger. And he felt her, steady, warm, unflinching. Cale. She breathed. His hand slid to the side of her neck, thumb brushing her pulse. Her skin heated everywhere he touched. His voice was rough, like he was fighting himself and losing. If I kiss you, he said, I won't stop. Aria didn't move away. Then don't. His breath trembled. But instead of kissing her, he pulled her against his chest, arms wrapping around her like he'd never held someone carefully in his life. It was closeness without frenzy, slow, deliberate, devastating. Her ear pressed to his heartbeat, strong, steady, real. He exhaled, deep and shaky, like the world finally let him breathe. They stayed like that. Bodies warm. Hearts aligned. No words necessary. For the first time since she arrived, Aria felt safe. For the first time in years, Cale felt home. But safety never lasted long in their world. A heavy knock slammed against the cabin door. Cale released her instantly, alpha steel returning to his spine. Come in, he called. A younger wolf burst inside, urgency in his eyes. Alpha, there's been another attack. This time. They left a message. Cale's eyes darkened. What message? The wolf swallowed hard. They're not hunting healers. They're hunting her. Aria's blood ran cold. Cale's fury was quiet. Controlled. Deadly. The bond pulsed between them. Strong, unbreakable, alive. War had just found them. The words hung in the air like frost. They're hunting her. Aria's heartbeat hammered, but she forced her breathing steady. Panic never saved anyone. Cale's wolves shifted uneasily, sensing the tension tightening the room like a snare. Cale stepped forward, his presence filling the space with a heavy, controlled power. Who delivered the message? The young wolf hesitated. One of ours found it carved into a tree near the river. And There was blood. Fresh. Aria's stomach knotted. Mine? No. Kale's voice was low steel. A warning. Or a promise. He turned to her, and this time he didn't pretend distance. His hand found her wrist, not possessive but grounding, steady, solid. A silent vow. You stay with me now, he said. It wasn't a request. But Aria didn't argue. The pack house rose above the trees, stone walls and wooden beams glowing with firelight. Wolves shifted back into human form as they entered, men and women with sharp eyes and quiet respect. They stared, not with curiosity but recognition. The bond had already whispered through the pack. Aria felt heat rise at their gazes. Kale's hand tightened around hers, subtle but unmistakable. Mine, the bond breathed, not spoken, not claimed. Felt. Inside, Kale led her to his private chambers. Warm, quiet, guarded. A sanctuary. And a cage. She turned to him. Why would someone hunt me? I'm not. You're more than a healer, Kale cut in softly. You survived a rogue attack that should have killed you. You crossed territories wolves rarely return from. And the bond chose you. Aria shook her head. That doesn't make me special. It makes me unlucky. Kale stepped closer, slow, careful, like approaching a frightened animal even though she was anything but. It makes you important. And whoever hunts you knows it. He reached up, brushing a thumb under her jaw. Heat bloomed across her skin. The bond hummed like a living thread between them. Warmth, longing, fear, want. Her voice came out barely a whisper. Kale. His breath brushed her lips. Too close. Not close enough. He pulled back first, barely. We can't afford distraction. Aria almost laughed. We already are distracted. His jaw clenched. I know. Silence. Thick. Magnetic. Then. He lifted her hand to his chest. Over his heart. The beat strong, steady, but too fast. Unmasked. If anything happens to you. He stopped, voice fraying. She felt his fear like her own, the bond making it impossible to hide. Kale, she said, softer now, I'm not going anywhere. Something in him loosened at that. He leaned in, not to kiss her, but to rest his forehead against hers again. Their breaths tangled, warm, intimate, charged. His voice was raw when he spoke. Sleep. It'll be right outside. But when she lay down, sleep didn't come. Not after the door closed. Not after the hall went quiet. Because somewhere in the dark, that bond stirred again, deeper now. Sharper. Not a whisper. Not a pull. A warning. She wasn't alone in her own mind anymore. Someone else was reaching for her. Someone who knew her name. Someone who wanted her blood. And they were getting closer. Aria's eyes snapped open in the dark, chest rising too fast. The sensation hadn't been a dream, no softness, no fading edges. It was a presence. Cold. Watching. Hunting. She sat up, breath shallow, staring into the shadows of Kale's room. The fire had burned low, embers glowing like scattered stars across the hearth. The silence felt wrong. Waited. She reached for the bond, unsure how, but her heart knew before her mind did. Kale. The name pulsed like a call. The door opened a second later. He stepped in, barefoot, hair tousled, chest bare except for black trousers hanging low at his hips. He must have come the moment he felt her fear. His eyes moved over her face. You felt something. Not a question. Aria nodded. They're close. Whoever wants me. They were inside my mind. Not speaking. Just searching. Kale's expression hardened, all softness vanished. The alpha. He crossed to her and sat at the edge of the bed, not touching but near enough warmth met hers. The bond is strengthening. It's opening doors, not just between us but to anything that's looking for you. Aria swallowed. So I caused this. No. He turned to her, voice low and certain. Someone marked you long before I found you. I'm the one who stands between you and whatever hunts you now. The words shouldn't have made her chest ache, but they did. Aria reached toward him before she could stop herself, her hand resting lightly on his forearm. His skin was hot, muscles tense beneath. He should have pulled away. He didn't. Their eyes locked. The air thickened, slow and deep and hungry. Kale's hand came up, hesitant, reverent, and cradled the side of her face. His thumb stroked her cheek, slow enough it felt like a promise. She leaned into the touch. The bond throbbed heat through her body, slow at first, then blooming, delicious and warm. Her breath trembled. His did too. Aria. He breathed. Her name had never sounded like that. Dark. Low. Like prayer and hunger at once. They leaned in. A sharp knock shattered the moment. Kale's hand fell away, his breath harsh. Fury, frustration, restraint, all at war. Enter, he growled. Lyra, Kale's beta and second, stepped in, eyes flicking between them. Not judgment, only urgency. We found tracks near the border. Not rogues. Organized. They know how to mask scent. They were watching the pack house. Kale stood, all alpha steel again. Double patrols. No one moves alone. And reinforce the eastern ridge. Lyra nodded and disappeared. Kale turned back to Aria, jaw tight. You stay with me. No matter what. She rose from the bed slowly, the nightshirt she wore brushing her thighs. He noticed. He looked away with effort. I trust you, she said softly. His gaze returned, and this time nothing was shielded. You shouldn't, he answered, voice rough. Because if I lose myself, you're the only thing you'll reach for. He stepped closer. Slow. Dangerous. Beautiful. And I don't know what it'll do when I touch you again. The bond pulsed, deep, molten, consuming. Aria didn't step back. Not this time. Because somewhere in the night, the threat grew stronger. And so did the fire between them. The morning came quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that carried tension under its skin. The pack moved with sharpened awareness, eyes scanning shadows, ears tuned to the slightest break in the wind. Aria walked beside Kale as they crossed the training field, wolves shifting and sparring under watchful eyes. She felt them glancing at her, curious, cautious, recognizing her as something important to their alpha. Kale's hand brushed her lower back as they walked. Not possessive. Protective. The simple contact sent warmth spiraling through her spine. His control was careful, deliberate. He hadn't touched her since last night, not like that, but the bond hummed deeper now, like it had settled into their blood. Lyra will show you the territory lines, Kale said. Only the inner ring. Beyond that is unsafe. Aria nodded. I won't wander. Kale's gaze flicked to her profile, like he knew she would if the need arose. But he didn't argue. Lyra approached, her red hair braided tight, eyes sharp but kind. Stay close to me. The forest listens, but not always kindly. Aria followed her through the trees, the world shifting from open grounds to dense pine and cool moss. Birds called overhead, but even their songs felt tense. When they reached a clearing with a small spring, Lyra finally spoke. You changed him, she said simply. Aria blinked. I've done nothing. Lyra gave a quiet laugh. You touched his heart. Most of us have tried. None of us got close. Aria looked down at the water. He's not as cold as he wants the world to believe. No, Lyra agreed, voice lowering. He is warm. But warmth burns just as easily as it heals. Before Aria could respond, she felt it, like a thread being tugged inside her chest. Kale. Not words, not a thought. Just certainty. Her breathing hitched. Lyra's eyes sharpened. You feel him, don't you? Aria swallowed. He's unsettled. Lyra didn't hesitate. We're going back. They turned, but before they could take 3 steps, the forest shifted. The air thickened. A presence. Watching. Listening. Aria froze. In the trees ahead, a figure stood cloaked in shadow. Not wolf. Not human. Something between. Aria's pulse spiked. The presence pressed at her mind, cold as ice sliding down her spine. Found you. The voice wasn't spoken. It was inside her skull. Lyra moved instantly, dagger drawn, stance wide. Behind me. The figure didn't move closer. Didn't need to. Its attention locked on Aria like a predator memorizing its prey. The voice slid through her again. He can't protect you forever. Aria's breath broke. Lyra snarled, ready to strike. But the figure stepped back and disappeared. Gone. No sound. No scent. No trace. The forest exhaled all at once. Aria collapsed to her knees, cold rush tearing through her bones. Lyra knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders. Aria. Look at me. Aria lifted her head, eyes burning, not with fear. With fury. He knew me, she whispered. Not just my name. My blood. My past. Lyra's grip tightened. We tell Kale. Now. They ran. By the time they reached the pack house, Kale was already there. Waiting, chest rising with restrained panic, like Head felt her terror before she ever moved. He crossed the distance in 3 strides, hands cupping her face, breath unsteady, eyes wild. What happened? His voice was low, dangerous. Aria didn't shake. He found me, she said. And he's coming. Kale's arms wrapped around her, hard. Uncontrolled. A promise written in flesh and heartbeat. Not even death would take her from him. Not now. Not ever. Kale didn't release her for a long moment. His heart hammered against her cheek. Fast, uneven, the rhythm of a man trying not to break. When he finally stepped back, his hands remained on her shoulders, his voice low, rough. Tell me exactly what you saw. Aria explained, no trembling, no hesitation. The shadowed figure. The cold voice in her mind. The way it recognized her, not as someone found, but someone claimed long before she understood herself. Kale listened in stillness, so sharp it felt like the air itself held its breath. When she finished, his eyes weren't just gold, they were burning. That wasn't a rogue, Kale said. That was a bloodbound. A wolf stripped of its soul to serve a master. Whoever commands them is powerful. Old. And very patient. Lyra stood nearby, jaw clenched. They don't hunt randomly. They hunt destiny. Aria's pulse stilled. Meaning? Kale's gaze locked with hers. Meaning someone believes you are the key to something larger. A chill slid down her spine, not fear. Recognition. Something inside her had always felt. Unfinished. Waiting. Kale's hands moved to her waist, grounding her. His voice softened, threaded with concern he didn't bother hiding now. We train. Starting today. Aria blinked. Train? I'm not. You survived what should have killed you. You healed wounds no ordinary herbalist could. Your strength is waking. You don't get to pretend you're ordinary anymore. He stepped closer, breath brushing her jaw. I won't lose you because you refuse to see who you are. The bond surged between them, hot, demanding, undeniable. Aria's breath trembled, her fingers curling against his chest. You won't lose me, she whispered. Not now. Not ever. For a moment, he almost kissed her. His lips parting, his hands sliding up the back of her neck, the world narrowing to the space between their mouths. But he stopped just shy, breathing her in like he needed the restraint as much as the desire. Come, he murmured. Well, begin outside. They moved to a clearing surrounded by towering pines. The air held the scent of pine resin and frost. Kale circled her slowly, a hunter's patience in every step. Close your eyes, he instructed. Aria did. Feel for the bond. Not with your mind. With your blood. Her breathing steadied. At first, there was only silence. Then, warmth. Low. Steady. Like a hand cupping her heart from the inside. Kale. She felt him. Not just near. Inside the same space she breathed. His emotions brushed hers, controlled power, sharp protectiveness, and beneath it all, a hunger so deep it left her knees weak. Aria gasped. Her eyes flew open, and Kale was right in front of her, chest almost touching hers, gaze molten. You felt it, he murmured. Yes. Her voice was breathless. That link will only grow stronger, he said. Soon you'll hear me. And I'll hear you. Her lips parted. Is that good? His answer came softly. Honest. It is the most dangerous kind of good. Then his hand lifted, slow and deliberate, and settled at her waist. Heat shot through her body, curling deep in her belly. Her fingers found his shoulders, unable not to. They stood like that, breaths tangled, hearts synced. But before either of them crossed the fragile, burning line between restraint and surrender, a howl cut across the trees. Not alarm. Summons. Kale's jaw tightened. Council meeting. They want to discuss you. Aria stiffened. Discuss. Or decide. Kale leaned down, foreheads touching, voice a vow made of steel. No one decides anything about you. Not while I breathe. The bond pulsed again, hot, fierce, unbreakable. War was coming. So was desire. And both were going to change everything. The council chamber was carved into the oldest part of the mountain, stone walls veined with silver that glimmered beneath torchlight. Wolves stood in a half-circle, elders and commanders, their gazes sharp as blades. Aria walked at Kale's side. Not behind him. Beside him. She could feel the tension rippling through the room. Curiosity. Caution. And from some, quiet resentment. Kale's hand brushed her lower back, subtle but unmistakable. A message. Mine to protect. State your report, Elder Thorne said, voice gravel-edged with age and authority. Kale didn't bow. A bloodbound crossed our borders. It made telepathic contact with Aria. A low ripple spread through the chamber. Elder Mara spoke next, voice cool, analytical. Then the rumors are true. The Silent Prince has returned. Aria's breath caught. Silent. Who? Mara's gaze settled on her, kind but unwavering. A wolf born without howl, without pack, without mercy. Banished centuries ago. One who believes healers should be bound to power, not people. Kale's jaw flexed. He was thought dead. Thorne shook his head. Creatures built from hunger rarely die easily. Aria's heartbeat thudded in her ears. Why me? No one answered at first. Then Kale did. Because her blood is not ordinary. Silence devoured the chamber. Kale stepped forward, voice quiet but resonant. Her mother was not just a healer. She was Crescent-born. Gasps. Low curses. Lyra's eyes widened beside her. Aria's pulse stumbled. What does that mean? Kale turned to her, and this time he didn't hide the truth. There are healers who mend wounds. And then there are those who can awaken what sleeps in the blood. Your kind were hunted because you could break bonds. Or strengthen them beyond any alpha's control. Aria felt the floor tilt beneath her. I didn't know, she whispered. Kale's voice softened. Your mother hid you to save you. Aria's throat tightened, grief rising like smoke. She had spent so long believing she was simply less. A quiet life in a quiet village. Now everything was shifting beneath her feet. Elder Thorne's voice cut in, crisp. If the Silent Prince is truly hunting her, then he intends to use her blood to claim an army. He will not stop. Aria looked up, eyes steady now. Then neither will I. A murmur went through the room, surprise, approval, disbelief. Kale's gaze found hers, something fierce and raw blooming behind his eyes. The meeting dismissed, Kale led her out into the night air. The stars spilled bright above the pines. Cold, clear, endless. Aria hugged her arms to her chest. You knew I wasn't ordinary. Even before the bond. Kale stepped closer. I didn't know. I felt something ancient. Something that recognized me before I recognized it. He reached out, slow, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. His fingers slid along her jaw, tracing the line to her ear. Her breath hitched. You are not here by accident, he murmured. You were brought into my life to change it. Her hand rose to his chest, over the steady, heavy beat beneath. And you were brought into mine to shatter everything I thought I knew. Their eyes held, no hesitation, no denial. The bond surged, heat and gravity and inevitability. Kale lowered his forehead to hers, breath unsteady. Aria, he whispered, voice breaking around her name. I am trying so damn hard not to want you the way I do. Her lips brushed his, not a kiss. A promise. Then stopped trying. For a heartbeat, the world held still. Then Kale pulled her into his arms, hard, desperate, real. And the night swallowed them both. The night after the council meeting felt heavier than any before. Not because of danger, though it lingered like storm clouds, but because of what almost happened between Aria and Kale. Almost. The bond still hummed under her skin, a warm, magnetic pull that made her pulse skip and her thoughts scatter. She lay awake long after the moon crossed the highest point in the sky. When dawn finally touched the mountains, Kale was already outside, shirtless, training with the warriors, movements sharp and precise. Every strike was control. Restraint. Discipline. Aria watched from the balcony, heart caught in her throat. He was trying to distance himself again. Lyra appeared beside her, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. You look like someone staring at fire and wondering why it burns. Aria blinked. Is it that obvious? Oh, painfully. But relax, he looks at you the same way. Lyra nudged her. Just. With more internal screaming. Aria huffed a breath of laughter despite herself. But the moment fractured when a horn sounded across the training grounds. A sentinel sprinted forward, chest heaving. Alpha Kale. A village near the eastern ridge sent distress smoke. Something attacked them, something. Not Wolf. Kale's entire posture sharpened. Aria's stomach tightened. The Silent Prince? Possibly, Kale said. Or one of his bloodbound. No hesitation. No council debate. Kale turned to Aria. You're not staying behind this time. Her pulse stuttered. Coming with you? You're Crescent-born, he said simply. Your presence may save lives. Lyra squeezed her hand once before they prepared to depart. The journey to the ridge was quiet, wind whispering through pine needles, hooves and paws crunching through frost. Wolves flanked them, tense and alert. When they reached the village, the devastation was silent and complete. Homes charred black. Doors torn off hinges. The scent of fear, sharp and metallic, hung in the cold air. Aria's breath trembled. This wasn't just an attack. They were hunted. Kale nodded once, grave. He's making a statement. A faint cry cut through the stillness. A child, frightened, hiding beneath collapsed beams. Aria rushed forward, instincts moving faster than thought. She knelt, hands glowing faintly as they touched the little girl's cheek. The child's breathing steadied. Her trembling slowed. Kale watched, not with fear but awe. Like he was remembering how rare miracles truly were. When the child was safely with the others, Aria stood, face pale, voice low. He's searching for something. Someone. He's circling the territory, testing the pack's defenses. Kale stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. He's not circling. His voice was a soft storm. He's coming for you. The realization settled like ice in her bones. Aria lifted her chin. Then we stop running. Something in Kale broke open then, bitterness, longing, desperation, all tangled together. He reached for her hand, threading his fingers through hers, not as alpha to healer, but as man to woman. You are not facing him alone, he said, tone rough, earnest. Aria looked up at him, fearless despite the terror gnawing at her ribs. I know, she said quietly. We face him together. Kale's thumb brushed her hand, gentle, grounding before he released it. The pack began gathering survivors and preparing to return to the stronghold, but Kale lingered, staring toward the treeline. Aria followed his gaze. There, at the edge, stood a figure cloaked in shadow and crimson. Watching. Waiting. A slow smile carved across his pale face when his eyes found hers. Not mocking. Recognizing. Like destiny. Answering. Aria's heart froze. The Silent Prince lifted 2 fingers to his temple, a greeting. Then he vanished into the mist like smoke caught in wind. Kale exhaled hard, fury simmering beneath his skin. Aria whispered the truth neither of them wanted to voice. He knows exactly where to find me now. They returned to the stronghold in silence. No victory chance. No relief. Just the weight of a threat now standing closer than breath. Aria felt it in the air, a pressure drawing tight around the pack like an invisible fist. The silent prince wasn't hiding anymore. He was announcing himself. Training intensified. Patrols doubled. The gates were reinforced with ironwood and moonstone sigils. But even that didn't calm the unease threading through the wolves. Aria stood in the courtyard, overseeing healing preparations, when Kale approached her. His gaze held something grave, something he had been holding back for days. "We need to talk," he said quietly. She nodded, following him to the inner hall. Not his war room. Not his chambers. Somewhere neutral. The old moon shrine. Cold stone. A single candle burning. Kale stopped before her, shoulders tight, jaw locked. "The silent prince wants you because of your bloodline," he began. "Not because you're crescent-born. But because," his voice caught. "Because your family is tied to his." Aria frowned. "My family? I don't even remember them." "I know." Kale's voice gentled, something raw flickering in his eyes. "But I do." A hush. Like the room itself leaned closer. "Your mother was his betrothed," Kale said. "Before she escaped. Before she chose a mortal life. Before she had you." Aria felt the world shift beneath her feet. The silent prince wasn't hunting a threat. He was hunting his right. His claim. Her pulse thrummed with panic, but also clarity. Pieces falling into place. Her dreams. Her strange power. The way his gaze recognized her. "My mother ran from him," Aria murmured, voice shaking. "And now he wants to reclaim what he believes is his." Kale stepped forward before her breath could fracture. "Aria." His voice was low, thick. "He won't have you." His hand cupped her jaw, gentle, steadying. The mate bond pulsed between them, warm, electric, unmistakable. It should have been terrifying. It felt like home. Aria swallowed. "Kale. If he comes for the pack." "Hell come for me first," Kale finished, eyes burning. "He knows I won't let him touch you." Their foreheads nearly touched. Neither moved away. The bond wasn't just a pull now. It was a shared heartbeat. A distant howl broke the moment. "Urgent." Summoning. Kale stiffened, listening. Perimeter alarm. They rushed outside. Warriors formed a line at the gate. Steel glinted. Fur bristled. The scent of unfamiliar wolves drifted through the trees. Not enemies. Refugees. An entire pack. Exhausted. Bloodied. Shaken. Their alpha stepped forward, a tall woman with braided silver hair and eyes like flint. "We seek sanctuary," she said. "The Crimson Court raised our den. We have nowhere else to go." Murmurs spread instantly. Tension crackled. Kale answered without hesitation. "You are under my protection now." And just like that, the stronghold became a beacon. A target. A final line. Aria stepped beside Kale, her voice low. "This changes everything." "It does," Kale said, eyes fixed on the forest beyond the walls. "War doesn't just approach anymore." His gaze dropped to her. "War is already here." The stronghold was no longer just home, it was a shelter for the desperate. New wolves filled the courtyard, some wounded, some hollow-eyed, all carrying the same scent of loss. Aria moved through them, healing where she could. Her palms glowed faintly as she sealed gashes and steadied racing hearts. Every touch drained her, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. A child clung to her skirt, refusing to let go. Aria knelt and held her until the trembling eased. Kale watched from a distance, not as Alpha assessing an asset, but as a man witnessing someone he could no longer pretend not to need. When she finally rose, tired and pale, he stepped beside her. "Rest." "I'm fine," she said, though her legs swayed. Kale's voice lowered, the kind that allowed no argument. Aria. She exhaled, defeated but soft. 5 minutes. They walked to the rampart, overlooking the wild stretch of forest. The wind was sharp and cold, but Kale stood close enough that she didn't shiver. They trust you, she murmured. They trust what they want me to be, Kale replied. Not what I am. She turned to him, eyes gentle. I see both. His jaw tightened, something like longing flickering across his face. Their hands brushed. Not a planned touch. Not a desperate one. Just gravity. The bond hummed warm and low between them, like a heartbeat under the skin. Kale didn't pull away this time. But before the moment could deepen, the newly arrived alpha woman, the one with silver braids, approached. I need to speak with you. Both of you. They followed her into the strategy hall, where a map of territories lay spread across the long oak table. Her finger traced a burning path across it. The silent prince doesn't conquer by brute strength, she said. He breaks packs from the inside. He finds their weakness. Then he takes it. Her gaze shifted to Aria. No accusation. Just truth. You're what he wants. But you're also what he fears. Aria's breath caught. Fears. You are your mother's daughter, the woman said. And your mother nearly destroyed him. The room stilled. Kale's eyes sharpened, focused entirely on Aria. Her power wasn't healing, the woman continued. It was awakening. The kind that turns wolves into legends. Or monsters. Aria felt the pulse of something ancient move beneath her skin, like a memory stretching awake. I don't want to hurt anyone, she whispered. Power doesn't care what you want, the woman replied. It only answers when called. Silence. Then Kale spoke, voice steady. She won't face this alone. The woman nodded once. Then you must both prepare. Not for battle. But for the bond. Aria blinked. The bond? You've resisted it. Softened it. But to stand against him. You'll need it fully formed. Kale's pulse kicked hard enough she felt it. Complete bond. Shared mind. Shared strength. Shared desire without walls. It meant no more distance. No more denial. Aria's breath shook, not from fear, but from how much she wanted it. Kale met her gaze. Not alpha. Not protector. Just Kale. If we do this, he said softly, there is no going back. Aria stepped closer, heart steady now. I was never going back. The silver-braided alpha exhaled, almost relieved. Then the bond must be sealed under moonrise. Outside, the sky shifted, clouds parting slowly. The moon was coming. And with it, everything they had been running from. And everything they could no longer deny. Moonrise arrived like a held breath released. The courtyard was cleared, torches burning low, their flames fluttering in the cool night breeze. Wolves formed a silent circle, watching, waiting, reverent. No one spoke. No one dared. Aria stood at the center, heart steady, though her fingers trembled. Not from fear, but from knowing what this meant. Kale stepped into the circle across from her, wearing nothing ornate, just dark trousers, his chest bare, marked with scars she knew weren't just wounds but stories. His golden eyes held her like gravity itself. When their eyes met, the world narrowed to just the two of them. Lyra stood between them, voice calm but resonant. Once begun, the bond cannot be undone. Not by moon, nor blood, nor death. Do both of you stand willingly? Kale spoke first, voice low and certain. Yes. Aria inhaled, her pulse echoing hers and his. Yes. The response seemed to move the air itself. Lyra stepped back. Kale approached slowly, not a predator stalking prey, but a man crossing a threshold head feared too long. Aria felt the bond before he touched her, warm, shimmering, pulling her closer. When his fingers finally brushed her cheek, the world lit from the inside out. Not fireworks. Not shock. Recognition. Her breath caught. His chest rose sharply. Their foreheads touched, and the bond unfurled, threads of sensation, memory, emotion intertwining. She saw flashes of him. A boy kneeling beside his father's grave. A young alpha refusing to let his people starve. A man standing alone on every battlefield. He saw her. A girl laughing in summer sunlight. A child crying for a mother she couldn't remember. A woman choosing to stay when running would have been easier. Their hearts synchronized. Their breathing matched. The circle of wolves lowered their heads. Kale's thumb traced down her jaw, slow, reverent. His voice was nearly a whisper, rough, vulnerable. Aria. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The bond had opened fully. She felt him. The heat beneath his control, the ache of wanting, the fear of losing her, the tenderness he never allowed anyone to see. And he felt her. The quiet courage, the longing, the fierce devotion blooming like flame. His hand slid to the back of her neck, drawing her closer. Her fingers gripped his shoulders, pulling him down. Their lips met. Not rushed. Not cautious. Inevitable. The kiss deepened, breath mingling, bodies drawn closer by instinct older than language. The heat between them grew, slow but consuming, like embers finally catching flame. The wolves didn't cheer. They simply felt the bond sealing through the air, warm, binding, unbreakable. When they finally parted, Kale rested his forehead against hers, breath uneven, voice hoarse. "You are mine." Aria's answer came as steady as moonlight. "And you are mine." The bond snapped into place with a soft surge of warmth, like being wrapped in arms even when no one touched her. Their thoughts brushed. "Are you afraid?" "Only of losing you." A howl rose from somewhere deep in the mountains. Not from their pack. Not from joy. But from someone who felt the bond seal and broke something in the process. The silent prince. His cry was rage and promise. Aria's hand tightened against Kale's chest. "He's coming." Kale's eyes darkened, not with fear, but with a fury sharpened by love. Then let him. The night after the bond should have been peaceful. It wasn't. The stronghold felt tense, as if every stone remembered the silent prince's scream across the mountains. The bond between Kale and Aria ran warm beneath her skin, steady and sure, but outside, unease crackled like lightning waiting to strike. Aria walked the upper battlements, cloak trailing in the wind. She could feel Kale through the bond, awake, alert, his emotions tight as drawn bowstring. He wasn't sleeping either. "You should rest," she sent softly. His response came like a warm hand closing over hers, even though he stood nowhere near. "I will when you do." She almost smiled. Almost. A guard rushed up the stairs, breathless. "Alpha, reports from the Western Patrol. Something's moving through the trees. Fast." Aria didn't wait. She descended the steps and Kale was already there, striding across the courtyard, warriors falling in behind him. His gaze found Aria instantly, as if every part of him was tuned to her presence now. "You stay close," he murmured. She didn't argue. They reached the western gate just as mist gathered across the ground like rising ghosts. Wolves formed ranks, some in human form, some already shifting, their growls low and ready. The trees rustled. But no army emerged. Just one figure. A young wolf, barely older than 16, collapsed at the tree-lean, blood streaking his chest. Aria rushed forward, kneeling beside him as Kale covered them, warriors braced around. The boy's eyes opened, silver and frightened. "He's coming. He's not waiting anymore. And he has. He has something that belongs to you." Aria felt her chest tighten. "Who?" The boy's shaking hand lifted, and in his palm was a pendant. A crescent moon carved of bone. Aria froze. She didn't remember owning anything like it. Yet it felt familiar. Like a handprint from childhood. Like something warm she once held while falling asleep. Kale crouched low, voice controlled. "Where did he get this?" The boy shivered. He said her blood calls to him. That the time for running is over. He's coming to take what was promised. Aria's breath stuttered. Not just her. The child she carried. Kale's control snapped, not in fury but in cold clarity. "We ready the stronghold," he said. "Every warrior. Every shield. Every ward." No one faces him alone. The pack dispersed with urgent purpose. Aria rose, but her legs wavered. Kale caught her by the waist, steadying her. The bond surged warm, protective, fierce. "You're shaking," he murmured. "He knew," she whispered. "He knew before we even told anyone." Kale's hand came up to her cheek, firm, grounding. His forehead rested against hers, breath rough. "He will not touch you. Or our child." The words came out raw. Possessive. Unbreakable. Aria's fingers curled into his shirt, clutching him close. "Then we fight." His arm wrapped around her, pulling her fully against him. No restraint now. No distance. The bond hummed between them, heat and strength and certainty. "We fight," he echoed through the link. The warning horns sounded moments later. Deep. Resonant. Not alarm. Arrival. The silent prince stepped from the mist beyond the gates. No army, no blades, just a single smile etched with centuries of patience. His eyes rose to the walls. Straight to Aria. Kale pulled her behind him, but the prince only lifted a hand, palm open, as if greeting an old lover. "Little moon," he called softly, voice carrying like silk on wind. "Come home." Aria's heart lurched, but not with confusion. With fury. "No," she said, the word low and steady. "I choose here." The silent prince's smile sharpened. "So be it." The sky darkened. And war began. The sky churned with storm clouds as the silent prince stepped forward, every movement calm, deliberate, cruel in its elegance. Wolves on the walls bristled, muscles tense, every breath suspended in waiting. Kale stood before Aria, shoulders squared, rage silent and controlled. Aria stepped up beside him, not behind. Their bond pulsed, warm and steady, tightening like intertwined roots. The silent prince's eyes flicked to their joined hands. "So the bond is sealed." How quaint. His voice was smooth, almost bored. "But it changes nothing. She is mine by blood, by destiny." Aria's voice cut through like a blade. "I am not something to own." She stepped forward. Kale didn't stop her. Their bond linked thought to thought, confidence shared like breath. The prince's smile faltered, small but real. Aria lifted her palm. And the power she had run from all her life rose to the surface, not violent, not wild, but luminous. Soft silver light glowed over her skin, spreading out like moonlight spilling across water. The silent prince's eyes widened. For the first time he looked afraid. "This is what my mother used," Aria whispered. "Not to destroy you, but to make you see." The light expanded, not a blast, but a wave, gentle, encompassing. It swept over Kale, over the wolves, over the prince. The air hummed. The earth stilled. Even the wind seemed to pause. The silent prince staggered back, as if the ground beneath him was suddenly unfamiliar. His voice cracked, not angry but broken. "She loved me." "And she left," Aria said softly. "Because love is not possession." The prince's form flickered, mist unraveling into nothingness. He reached out just once, not to take but to remember. Then he was gone. The forest quieted. The storm clouds thinned. The stronghold exhaled as though it had been holding its breath for years. When the silence settled, Kale turned to Aria slowly, as if fearing she might vanish too. His hands framed her face, eyes burning, not with heat this time but reverence. "You just saved us all," he said, voice raw. Aria leaned into him, tears warm on her lashes. "We saved each other." Their kiss wasn't urgent like before, it was full, deep, grounding. A promise, a home, a future. The pack erupted into relieved howls and cheers, but they barely heard them. Kale's forehead rested against hers, their bond thrumming soft and sure. Through the link, she felt him whisper, not a command, not a claim, but a vow. "My heart is yours." Aria answered with her own. "And mine is yours." Weeks passed. Rebuilding began. Peace settled like dawn mist. Aria's belly curved now, small, beautiful, undeniable. Kale touched it often, reverently, like he still couldn't believe it was real. One evening, they stood on the balcony overlooking the valley, sunset casting gold across the mountains. Aria leaned into him. Do you think our child will be wolf? Kale smiled, soft and rare. Whatever they are, they will be loved. She laughed quietly. And stubborn. Oh, without question. Their bond thrummed warm, bright, certain. No war at their door. No running. No fear. Just two souls who chose each other. And the family they would build together. Thank you so much for listening to Alpha's Little Secret. I hope you enjoyed this journey, felt the bond, the longing, the strength, and the love woven through every chapter. If you loved this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so more listeners can experience it. Until the next story. Thank you for watching. And take care of your heart.